into your body. Bring your awareness back into the room. Because in this next section, it's a little more dynamic. And we're going to have the dynamic duo, Lee.
We are.
We have two brothers joining us.
But what's unusual and different this time is we have been on their show first.
Yes, we have.
Right, and that's where we actually met these gentlemen. So.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking to Guy and Ilan Ferdman, and let's just see that they're both there. So Guy, are you there?
Got you loud and clear. Yep.
Wonderful. And Ilan, are you there?
I am.
Woohoo! Wonderful. Well, let's tell everyone about these brothers.
All right. Guy and Ilan are both blood brothers. They are real blood brothers and the founders of Satori Prime. They've spoken on stages all over the world. They've coached over 20,000 people in the fields of leadership. 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I always go, whoa, something like personal development and spiritual growth.
Now, they were born in the port mountain city of beautiful Haifa, Israel. I've been there, Lee and I have been there, and we can attest. It truly is a beautiful city. And they soon immigrated to the east coast of the US in 1989, along with their parents, in search of a better life. After tremendous success in the US in the early 2000s, they lost everything in the 2008 depression.
The pursuit of personal development began as many beautiful accidents often do. Guy was looking for an opportunity to help himself after battling depression and anger for over 7 years. Does that sound familiar to anybody here? In 2003, Guy started working on a personal development course which dramatically turned his life around, as well as his entire family.
Now, eventually, this led to the establishment of Satori Prime in June of 2011. And the intention of Satori Prime is to help as many people possible dramatically transform their lives, to heal themselves, and in the process to raise global consciousness. Now, that is still the driving force behind absolutely everything that these brothers create today. They believe that there is no cap to the amount of growth a human can experience.
I love that. That's a great statement. Mm-hmm. Today, they've become a resource and a beacon of inspiration to thousands of people in over 30 countries who follow their conscious, elevating, and healing modalities. Here's something from the two of them. It's a statement. It is your view of life and the quality of the energy behind your actions that will determine the results of your own life. A quote, Einstein was famously quoted as saying, "There are two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle." Gentlemen, welcome to our show. Tell us all about what's happened in your life.
So good to be here. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
It would be great if Lee could just introduce us always. It's just like, that's the voice that I want introducing me.
I'll be here. You can just wake me up anytime and I'll just do that. That'd be great.
Snap the fingers.
Yeah, snapping the fingers. Here's Lee. First of all, I just want to say what an honor it is to be on the show. We've been longtime listeners, followers of Kryon as well. So it's just a bit surreal to hear Lee talking and knowing that it's actually coming at us. So thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here with you. I'm going to just jump right in and hopefully I'm going to share a little bit of our story, but really we want to talk to the audience and have them see that, a journey is a journey, right? So Guy and I started our personal development journey, like you said, in 2003. And at that time, we were very, very young. Guy was 19, I was 21. And at that time, the idea of this subtle voice, right? When someone told me the first time that there was this voice in my head that wasn't actually me, that was like being unplugged from the matrix. It was the most surreal experience. I remember just sitting there grappling with myself like, oh, this thing that's been beating me up and telling me that I'm not good enough and that I need to do this more and I'm not smart enough and I'm too young and all of these things is not me. And that took us down this very long path because we became obsessed with the mindset world. We read every book that we can get our hands on. We had mentors, we had coaches, and we delved deep into that world. And during that time that Monica had mentioned in 2008, technically from 2008, we were okay for about a year and a half, 2 years. And in 2010, we just lost everything. Mm-hmm. And it was at that time, just kind of like when we deal with difficult situations, right? All this stuff arises. And a lot of the time, the stuff that you thought you handled just comes bubbling right up to the surface. And it was at that time that I realized that the tools that we had been creating over that period of time weren't going to be the tools that would get us to this next stage. And so we began searching, looking here, meditations, breath work, all of these different things. And it wasn't until I would say we both started working with plant medicine that we were open to the idea that there's this whole other world that we had never experienced. A world of energy, a world of frequency, a world of the feminine. Both Guy and I don't know if you guys can see us, tend to be very, masculine type guys. And we were just doers, achievers, made things happen. And when we hit that wall, it kind of shook everything up. And so that really started to take us down this other path, which is where we're at today. And so today, and Guy's going to talk about this, we have, instead of working on the subtle mind awareness, we've developed something that we've called the awareness effect, which actually creates the subtle body awareness. So I'm going to have Guy start to kind of extrapolate on that.
Yeah, so just to kind of pick up where he left off, something that we noticed was kind of like a roadblock for us in our growth, and also for a roadblock with clients, is that they would read the books, take the courses, have the teachers, but no matter how much work they actually did, it was as if the mind just simply cannot access what's happening in the body. So if you're having, an experience, you're walking into a room with a new group of people, or doing an interview, or anything that you might be doing, right? The first thing that's going to happen is you are going to have some kind of sensation in your body. And then you're going to have this interpretation machine that's up here looking down, and it's going to suss out the situation and figure out which program to run in that moment in order to either have you feel safe or deal with the anxiety or stress and overwhelm that might be in the system. And so what we saw is no matter how much education we had or how much understanding we had about mindset development, about human development, about the way the mind worked, is that none of that gives you access and be able to control this experience that you're having inside the body. And so we started realizing that if we don't become energetically aware, we just are never going to get to the root cause of the problem. And so when we see people out there struggling, it's as if they're looking at a tree and they're really aware of the branches and the leaves, and they just keep cutting those down, keep cutting them down. But no matter how much you cut those down, of course, the tree is going to continue to grow, give you new branches and new leaves. So we really wanted to get to the root. And so at some point, after we kind of go through more of the interview process, maybe towards the end of this, we'll give a little taster for people to start pointing at how you can access some of the energetic parts of yourself. And the beautiful part is once you get into the energetics, once you get into the awareness, awareness has this beautiful effect where it just starts unbinding itself. So if you imagine that all these programs that you're running are just like a shoelace that you've been tying knots over and over and over and over again throughout your entire life, awareness has this effect of starting to unbind those things naturally. And so the body can get to a place of well-being, cultivate safety. And it's a really different experience of life to be lived when you are not responding to what's happening to you from a fight or flight response, but you're actually responding from a place of safety, well-being. And that's kind of the line that Lee was reading, is that we believe that the actions that people are taking in life truly don't matter as much of the quality of the energy that's sourcing that action. And so you can go do 1,000 things to try to resolve, areas like relationships, health, and wealth in your life. But when the energy behind that's sourcing the action is fear or anxiety, it's kind of like a boomerang effect. Whatever you're creating ultimately will create more fear. Ultimately will create more anxiety in your life. So we really, really want to focus on starting to have some kind of a practice that before we do something in our lives, whether it's in our business or relationships or around money, is that we bring ourselves to a place of neutrality, a place of compassion, and start acting from there, so that the resource of that action is a place of highly cultivated energy. And then we start seeing just absolutely magical things happen in our lives and other people's lives as well.
Yeah, like the part that really shifted was we realized that managing these parts and managing your patterns and learning about why and how they got created, mom did this when I was 3 or dad didn't do that or whatever, it gave you really good understanding, but it did little to actually change the actions and it from happening again. It's like, I don't want to yell at my wife, so I'm going to read all these books. Okay, how do I know? Oh, well, I yell because this happens and I get upset. Okay. And then in the moment, like, here you are again. And so we got less interested in managing and more interested in healing. And something that Kryon shared a while, which I actually have here on my computer on a Post-it, is in the feeling is the teaching. Mm-hmm. And that kind of became our mantra because Guy at one point said this line and I was like, oh my God, that's what it's about. Everyone in this world is trying to make themselves feel better. Like being happy is somehow the goal, or being joyful is somehow the goal. And he said, stop trying to make yourself feel better and get better at feeling. Because what happened is when sad became not okay, or when anger became not okay, and you were really, really young, you weren't consciously making these decisions. We all basically went and like, turn the volume down on sad, turn the volume down on anger, turn the volume down on whatever it might be, right? But I tell people there is no like intricate volume knobs. You don't just turn sad down, you're turning the master volume down. And by virtue, you're turning love down, joy down, peace, well-being. Everything gets muted as you keep cranking this down. And what we have been at is, okay, well, let's open ourselves back up to allow ourselves to feel all of these things. And as we started to explore that, incredible things started to happen. And this is Healing Wednesdays, right? So it's like the healing started to occur without the mind being there trying to control everything. Guy used that knots, right? So you can imagine there's thousands upon thousands of these knots. But the mind goes, okay, I want to get to that one in that place, in that middle. Like, I want to release that one. But if you've ever messed with knots, like you can't get to that one. There's this other layer, another layer, another layer. And the reason people keep bouncing off and having these, habitual patterns that they keep falling into is because we're not able to deal with what is actually causing the reaction. What is having the mind look down and go, this is not okay. We got to fix this now. And then pulling us out. So all of our practices have started to take ourselves and our clients into that felt sense. And when you do that, instead of putting a Band-Aid and then the Band-Aid falls off and you're right back at it, it's like you heal it and it's gone. And that part is gone. And our clients report that they'll have these moments where their mom or dad will say something, or their partner or their kids or their boss will say something. And they're so habitually triggered to respond a certain way, and they don't. And they have this kind of like whole moment where the mind is almost waiting. It's like, okay, response coming in 3, 2, 1, and it doesn't. And it's like, wait, nothing? Like, you're not going to respond? And that's when we know that true healing has taken place. It's like that loose wire inside that people can touch and you just zap is gone. So, bro, I don't know if you want to say something, or maybe we just even take them into that little bit of the awareness exercise.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, it's become really apparent to us that there's, I'm sure, right, for Lee too, when he's channeling, there's an intelligent field. And most of humanity has not been educated on how to connect to that. We're very much operating from a localized, linear thinking, conditioned mind, right? So the beginning for us, I think, to start creating freedom is to find, how do you unlocalize? How do you view and operate from a non-conditioned mind? And that, to us, is really where the magic starts happening. And so I'll just take like everyone here through a quick demo, if you guys don't mind.
Yes, we'd love that.
We want that very much. Yeah,
and I love the connection between the mind is very important, but you've tapped on a very important element.
You really have.
Which is emotions and feelings.
Feelings.
So what you said is, if you're stuck, there's an emotion in there that is either being suppressed, ignored, dismissed, and what you said, the healing is in the feeling. And this is critical for anyone who wants to make long-lasting change in life. So we're ready.
We're ready.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, Ken Wilber talks about just two paths for enlightenment: the growing up work and waking up work, right? So many people have access to growing up work, psychology, mindset, linguistics. Right now, we're going to bridge that and kind of create a little bit of more of the waking up work with a touch of the growing up work. And it's that bridge that's really, really important. So very simple demo here. We're going to just, if you guys want to play along, just lift up our left or right hands, just like that. And what I'm going to ask the viewers to do, and Lee and Monica as well, is instead of looking at the hand, and if it's helpful, you can close your eyes, but instead of looking at your hand, just gently placing awareness on your hand. Okay, so just gently placing awareness on your hand.
And for some of you out there, it might even be easier to just close your eyes.
Yeah, just so you're not looking at it. So again, the idea is not to look at the hand, just gently placing awareness on the hand. And as we gently place awareness on the hand, we're just going to notice what we notice about the hand. And so usually we have, a group of people in front of us, but just to kind of move things along, usually people report something like heat, increased sense of vibration, sometimes cooling, maybe a tingling, right, that they're starting to notice. And some people experience numbness. And I want anybody who's doing this exercise, if what you feel is numb, to recognize numbness as not the absence of sensation. That is the sensation. That's what your system feels. Okay. So just a quick note about that. I want you to notice that we didn't give you instructions on how to do that, like how to place awareness. Placing awareness is innate. And we're actually just using the hand as a guidepost, because really what we're just doing is we're moving awareness, unlocalizing it from mind, placing it here in this space that we're calling our hand. And we're using the hand as this kind of modality in order to feel the space, almost like an antenna. And so we've all probably heard the line of where awareness goes, energy flows. And that's actually exactly what's happening. We're using our awareness. And as we focus awareness, energy is actually localizing in the space where our hand is. And even more, the chi acts like a magnet and moves the blood flow up the hand. And so we're starting to experience different things, the spiritual aspects and esoteric of energy, and also the physical, where blood is moving up towards the hand. If you've ever heard of yogis that heal the body faster, this is essentially how. It's just focused awareness, and then more nutrients come to that part of the body. Okay, so just to kind of continue the demo, putting our hands down, just at the speed of awareness, just moving the awareness now towards the left foot. And again, just noticing how quickly we start just noticing more sensations in our left foot. And just see how that feels for you. And so to kind of offer for the logical mind here, this is the beginning of having some kind of subtle, energetic, and body awareness, right? That's all we're doing here, is we're just kind of creating that gap, and we're starting to notice sensation in the body. And so Monica mentioned emotion, and she's right, but emotion is more like the judgment the mind has of sensation in the body. Like if I think, oh, I'm sad right now, that's my mind interpreting sensation. So I'm not in the direct experience. And that's where people get lost in the minutia, right? Because it's, oh, this and that. So I'm going to have you just gently bring your awareness towards the center channel of your body, specifically the stomach. We've all heard of the chakra systems and the 7 chakras, and there are many more, but we're going to just keep it nice and basic here. And so just gently bringing that same awareness that you brought to the hand and to the foot towards your belly. And something to know about the belly, and as we kind of explore this together, is that the belly is not a 2-dimensional object. It is a 3-dimensional object. So just kind of visualizing that there's a front and a back, 2 different sides, and an inside and an outside. So see what it's like to bring your awareness just to the top of the belly. And then just, again, what we're just noticing is sensation. Doesn't matter what sensation, we're just noticing sensation. And then again, just bringing it towards the center of the stomach, like the inside. And noticing also just how pinpoint accurate awareness could be. It could be either a millimeter of awareness, like a point of reference, or it could be awareness of the entire stomach. Okay. And so again, we're just bringing into awareness this subtle energy flow that's in the body. And for some of you guys, you really may not feel anything. There may be a complete stagnation of energy. And so you're going to have to start with numbness. Okay. So why is this useful? Why is this effective? Okay. So what we teach is there's kind of like a 2-part thing here, because there's one thing with just like looking at sensation in the body from the conditioned and judgmental mind. And when we do that, it's the same way of looking at a child when you're judging the child, right? Like nobody looks at a 3-year-old and is like harshly judging them, right? Because what the child wants, what our inner being sort of wants, is just like a child that has this reach and response kind of mechanism. And it's looking for a certain quality of presence from you in order to soothe itself. Right. So like children, for example, don't have very developed nervous systems. So when they're reaching for the parent, what they're actually looking to is energetically connect with the parent. And they're actually looking to mirror the parent's nervous system in order to soothe their own bodies. It's only later on that the body learns to downregulate the nervous system by itself. And for many of us, it actually doesn't downregulate at all. We're stuck in fight or flight responses. Okay. So why this is effective is when we start mapping our subtle energetics like this, and we learn how to unlocalize our awareness at the same time, right? So it's a different quality of view, and we're not going to get into that here, but that's kind of the foundation of what we teach is how to find this higher state awareness, and then how to view the center channel of the body from a certain awareness. And so right now is just kind of another test. Bring in some circumstance in your life into like your intention and your awareness, something that you're struggling with, usually around relationships or health or wealth, those kind of areas usually summarize where most people are struggling with. And then, yeah, go ahead, bro.
Out here that the body doesn't know the difference between something happening in real time and something happening in your mind's eye. It's going to respond the same way. I mean, just the other day I was telling guys, so we just moved from New York to Florida. My kids joined a new school. And my 8-year-old daughter walked into like a meeting with a whole bunch of kids that was organized and had a full-blown anxiety attack. Now, she didn't know, right? Because she's 8 and all these things are happening in her stomach, right? Just like all of us have had happen many a times. But for her, that sensation was so much. In other words, like when energy hits our system and the charge is too great.
That's right.
And we don't know how to dissipate that energy, your mind is going to look at that as like DEFCON 12. We got it, like all systems.